Okay, everyone, thank you for being here today. We've been doing some really big work in this class, and also I've just been doing a lot of work on my own. Yesterday, I was using this same breathing technique all day. I was breathing so much and going into the micro consciousness of everything, including every insect that would like come into my room and every single dust particle. I was like going into the consciousness, and then the pixels of my reality were like whoa, 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 whoa. Like when you literally make every single dust particle conscious, then like I was looking at my kitchen table and the tea drugs across my table and like all the empty cups that I had, and it was like whoa, 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 all of this consciousness. And I was not microdosing or anything. So I was just going super deep into this technique, and also working on animal communication. So let's see, I want to talk about spiritual awakening and psychosis. So when I started therapy school, the very first day of class, we talked about psychosis and spiritual awakening, because the school that I went to is dedicated to the evolution of human consciousness, and there's also a psychedelics program there, and like most of the teachers like got up and told us their psychedelic stories and their psychosis stories, and but it's heavily rooted in Buddhist meditation and psychology, but it's the marriage of Eastern thought plus psychology plus psychedelics. That's the cutting edge of human consciousness. So as we do these practices, it will propel us into greater awarenesses. And I've had my first actual spiritual awakening was put into motion by having contact with a certain teacher. I had a teacher, he was Filipino descent, raised in Hawaii, and he practiced a certain kind of miracle healing. And I think I was like receiving a session from him, but being in the field of his consciousness and the vastness that he anchored in sent me into like a month-long spiritual awakening, which without support would have been a psychosis. So luckily at that time I had the spaciousness in my life where I was like laying on the couch for a month, and my housemate was cooking me muffins, and like I was very supported I was just getting all the downloads and talking to the angels and like experimenting with this new reality. And during that time, what I was led to do was to download all of these different new systems of being able to relate with reality. So during that time, my brain was opened up, and I like rapidly digested lots of information from a number of different traditions. Like I read like Tibetan shamanism, like assimilated all the symbols, like, okay, this other kind of, angels, download to the system, because when the universe is communicating with us, it's going to be using these symbols. And if we don't have a language to communicate, it could just come off really confusing, or we just miss the message altogether. For example, our dreams every night are messages, and a lot of times like we don't take that opportunity, we just let it pass by. So it's really good to become fluent. It's good to become fluent in the symbols. And here we're developing more mastery with just all the different layers of dimensions, which I can barely keep up with because I'm teaching this, but I'm learning, and like I'm studying all week long, like, okay, the dimensions, and it's infinite, So let's see, psychosis and spiritual awakening. Yeah, so like, for example, when we go into the astral realm is full of shadows and scary beings. And if we don't have nervous system mastery, those things can really come to life. So nervous system mastery, grounding, creating spaciousness. Also, I cried the entire month of December, but I have this shamanic lifestyle where I'm literally just barefoot all the time, like communing with the ocean and drinking the sun. So I have the spaciousness to go on that ride. Like I have the spaciousness to welcome grief and the journey that it wants to take me on, and to receive all the gifts from it. But if we don't have a lifestyle where we can create the spaciousness, then these things can turn into shadowy monsters. So, okay. So then another thing, in therapy school, when we learned about trauma, when you're healing trauma, the most important thing for healing trauma is resourcing. So once you actually feel grounded, safe, nourished, loved, seen, your trauma will naturally start to bubble up. So when we're processing some of these, so here we're doing a combination of things in this class where we already went through and like processed a lot of stuff. And now we're just going out there and like exploring what it feels like to be an angel or to be a dragon or whatever. But we're going to kind of be going back and forth. I'm also taking a teacher training class for this course. So I'm like learning more and going higher. That's why also I was breathing all day yesterday and going into every single dust particle around me. But something that I just learned in that class that I'm doing on myself, and I've already gone through all of these modules multiple times on myself, and it's never the same. It just goes deeper and deeper. But if you use this technique, and you can do this inside or outside of class, I'm probably going to be trickling this into the class, like weaving it in, titrating it. But if you use this technique, and you can just go back and use the technique from the recorded videos, and you work on your top 3 best memories and your top 3 worst memories, that will move a massive amount of energy in your life that will cause it could cause like a spiritual awakening, psychosis, if you're moving that much energy, a detox at the least, it could rearrange things so let's talk about the elements and their alchemizing support. So the earth, as we know from the grounding meditation, is an alchemical resource, right? Just think of how she decomposes everything, right? So when we connect with the earth like that, like I pointed out in the meditation, it's just a very balancing effect. Like we can simultaneously release everything we need to, but we're also getting charged and we're getting like electrified and charged, but it's very, very balancing. Right? So the breath work the breath work technique that we're using has a similar effect as that, where it neutralizes everything. It brings it into balance. So when we're focusing on positive memories, we're accessing that positive memory to be able to like enhance it and circulate it where we so consciously choose. But similarly, when we're accessing a quote unquote negative memory, we're also just bringing it into consciousness and balance, and then like perhaps learning how to navigate that with more skillfulness, or bring it away, because we're looking at everything through the eyes of God. So this G breath, gamma breath, DMT breath that we're using has a similar neutralizing effect of when we're able to see things through the eyes of God. So normally we're always God, right? But on earth we're playing peekaboo with ourselves. We're like, ooh, it's dark. Ooh, it's light. Ooh, let me hide from myself a little bit over here. Like, let me just be in the light and pretend like it's not half dark or whatever. So we're usually playing peekaboo. And when we do this breathwork technique, we're just kind of able to see everything. And that helps bring things into balance. Okay, so then we have fire, which is also very alchemizing, like especially if you use the purple flame of Saint Germain. But fire is really important in alchemizing. And the heart, like if you just sit in your heart, just stay in there, stay in your heart, and like you can like burn off, churn off, digest trauma. Okay, and then actually working with a real fireplace, like that's medicine, that's magic. Let's see, the ether. The ether is just quantum. It's like really, really, really lightness of being, and it can just shift everything really fast, like space. Like just bing. So that's some of the newer energies coming through that we have access to for alchemizing. And then the water. So like cleansing our waters. The waters are the crystals, the waters are the memories. So working with all of these, did I miss anything? Fire, water, air, our breath. So when we work with our breath, as pure consciousness, and as we learn how to direct our breath, like by the time you are completely conscious of your breath, you can completely direct all of consciousness in your reality. So those are the levels that we're going to. We're going to these levels of mastery. And like when you can take full ownership for everything in your reality and everything in your hologram. So that's when you're a master. Because if you're doing dream work, you're going to look at like very common symbols. The house is the self. The car is the ego, or how we externally present. You know, things in the attic, things in the basement. These are things in the, you know, in the subconscious, or so, and like big water, like ocean. This is the collective unconscious, right? So if you can work with those symbols in the dream world, it's important to be working with those symbols in the waking world too. So what does your room look like? What kind of insects visit you in your room? So yesterday when I was like tripping out in my, it's not even psychosis because I have so much spaciousness. It's just like all of reality is really psychedelic now. And I have a lot of space to be with all of that and to talk to the snakes that come visit me and stuff. So anyways, the insects, they're like little tiny fractals of our consciousness. It buzzing around. Okay. So we'll look at those, like maybe someday in this class we can look at mosquitoes and stuff. It's fun to look at mosquitoes. All right. So let's see, what else do I have for this talk? Okay. Things happen in the causal planes, like the astral and all that, before they come to Earth. So for the last layer of what we're doing today, we're gonna be doing some cleanup on Earth. And when I was putting this class together, I wasn't sure. I was like, should we be plasma dragons? Should we be angels? Should we be a team of intergalactics? Should we be elementals, like a collective of elementals? And I couldn't make up my mind. So, and then I went in and did the process on myself, and I ended up being a team of elementals. But at the last one, I'm going to leave you guys the option. You can be whatever you want. So I'm talking about this now before we go in, because we're actually moving energy on the planet when we do this in these other realms, because things are not created matter to matter. Things are created first in the etheric realm. So for the last module, when I say like, okay, we're going to create like a cleanup crew for Earth, you can either become a team of plasma dragons, a team of elementals, a team of angels, a team of intergalactics, or a collective of elementals. And then you're working with that energy, like you actually are cleaning up Earth. And let's see, if I remember, I'll connect. Sometimes I say I'm going to put stuff in the email and I forget. But there's a really good talk by Carolyn Elliott, and she's very non-dual. And this is a great shadow work book by Carolyn Elliott, Existential Kink. It's full of shadow work exercises that I use a lot with clients. And she gives this really good talk on non-dualism, and I can't remember what I was going to say about it now. Okay. Oh yeah, she was saying that like by the time like Martin Luther King's big movement came around, it wasn't like matter to matter, like get out in the street with your sign and like we're going to shift the government. Like these changes have to happen in a spiritual plane first, and then whatever happens in the physical is as a result of all this work that we're doing. So if we want to change the world and stuff, we have to just start with ourselves. But you guys already know that. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's see, what else do I want to say? Oh yeah. So in the coming weeks, we might be going into some heavier trauma for ourselves and or the collective. So when we do that, it's important to resource. So that's why this time I'm starting off I'm starting off with resourcing. And then we'll go into some heavy stuff. But it's not necessarily like personal trauma, but in the coming weeks, we may be going into some personal trauma. but I'll try to titrate it. That's another technique for processing trauma. You don't just like go in with the jackhammer like we're gonna get it all now. No. You like take bite size, digest it, do some resourcing, go to the beach, wash it off, come back, take another bite. So we might be visiting some of these traumatic memories like that. All right, here we go. I might make a separate video.